So you're thinking about moving to the Tampa, Florida area. This video is for you. We're gonna go through all kinds of things, the common questions we get asked, as we've helped so many people just like you relocate to the area from other parts of Florida, other parts of the country, even other parts of the world. So stick around, we've got a bunch of great questions answered for you right here. I'm Sam, and this is the Living in Tampa channel. We make these videos just like this for you to understand what it's like to live and move to the whole Tampa, Florida area, the whole area. We cover like 5 counties. So don't hesitate to go back and check out our other videos. They are packed full of information about specific towns, specific questions, specific concerns like insurance or new construction. We have a big library of content just for you. We're also a team of realtors, and we'd love a chance to earn your real estate business, but more about that later. We are gonna start with real estate though, because that's a big thing when people are thinking about relocating to an area. They're wondering what the real estate's like. We're gonna answer a couple different questions. Prices and lifestyle. 2 kind of different things within the same banner of real estate. So real estate prices in the Tampa area have gone up a lot in the past 4 or 5 years. There's been a lot of building, there's been a lot of new development, and it has become a very popular destination to relocate to vacation to, all those kind of things, and that's probably why you're watching this video. Before we talk about prices, let's talk about the 3 main counties that make up the Tampa area. So you have Hillsborough County, where Tampa proper is. It's right there on the bay, and then over onto the east side of the Tampa Bay. It goes up north, it's a big county. You can see there's room for a lot of people. There's actually room to grow to the east side of that county, and it is growing still. On the west side of the bay, you have Pinellas County. Pinellas County has about 1 million people, and it's pretty full. It's the most densely populated county in the state, actually. Pinellas County is home of the beautiful beaches that you are drawn to for the Tampa area. Also home to a really fascinating, cool city, St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is a thriving local community. About 250,000 people there in St. Petersburg. Has a cool downtown, cool waterfront along the bay. And you can go over to the beach towns and get to the beaches really easy from there too. Other towns in Pinellas County that you know and love are like Clearwater, even up into the Sponge Ducks and Tarpon Springs. You have some unique charm, unique small towns. And then north of these counties, you have Pasco County, a little over 500,000 people and growing really, really fast. Actually, during the pandemic, Pasco County was one of the fastest growing counties. A lot of that was because of new development. Out into Wesley Chapel, they've been building like crazy, but all the way over to Newport Richey on the west side of the county, they've been building a lot. To talk about prices, I want to talk about what our clients are mostly looking for. Most of our clients are looking for 3 to 4 bedrooms, near good schools, with a pool. Now, even if someone is retired and doesn't have kids going to school, they're often wanting an area that has decent schools. They're not just like, yeah, put me next to the lowest rated schools in the whole area. They're thinking of resale, they're thinking of those kind of things. So that's kind of the criteria we get thrown a lot. So for Hillsborough County, if we're looking for that specific thing, we're really looking in the $450 to $750 range. Now, the closer you get to certain amenities like downtown or shopping areas or water, the more expensive that gets. And in Pinellas County, it's really the same price range. That $450 to $750 is gonna get you that home that you want. Of course, in all these areas, you could go far above that if you want to live right on the water, or right on a golf course, or in a very exclusive gated neighborhood. There's all kinds of things that can make it more expensive. There are a few things that can make it more affordable, but not many actually. So after being here for 4 years, I've developed this theory that the most affordable areas in the whole Tampa area are the places where it's the hardest to commute to Tampa. They're just the cheapest. So you get up into like the north side of Pinellas County, and then you go onto the far west side of Pasco County. You gotta get around Lake Tarpon, you gotta go all the way over to the toll road, you gotta go all the way down US 19. It's a very inconvenient commute to Tampa, so I think that's why it's cheaper. Okay, and while we're talking about real estate, let's talk about lifestyle as well. So Hillsborough County, you have a little bit more urban kind of experiences where you could easily get to downtown, you could get to some really cool walkable areas like Hyde Park, places in South Tampa, all kinds of places downtown in the kind of downtown corridor of Tampa have that walkability and have that kind of big city feel. Now you do have suburbs around there that have easy access to that, like West Chase and Carrollwood. Places like that have easy access to Tampa, are in Hillsborough County, but they are just busier than some of the other areas we're going to talk about. In Pinellas County, the lifestyle vibe is split into a few different things. Along the Gulf Coast, it's beachy. Small towns with little small downtowns, kind of beachy feel, beachy speed. As you go inland a little bit on the north side of Pinellas County, it gets very suburban, very family focused, just neighborhoods and schools and that kind of normal thing that people need in the suburban areas. As you go further south into St. Petersburg, it gets busier and younger, and there's awesome food culture and awesome nightlife and those kind of things in St. Petersburg. So Pinellas County has these kind of split personalities. And then up into Pasco County, you have a few different options as well. You do have some older beachy kind of boating marina areas that are pretty low to the water over on the west side near the Gulf, right on the Gulf. As you go across US 19, you have some cool little downtowns like downtown Newport Richey. And then it gets very suburban as you go east. So you go Newport Richey, then Odessa, then Land O'Lakes and Lutz and Wesley Chapel and Zephyr Hills and San Antonio, all those places with big new communities that feel very suburban. And especially out there on the Wesley Chapel side of Pasco County, everything is being built really quickly, and it's being built very nicely as well. For a couple years, Wesley Chapel was the main area that people asked us about. That's not really the case anymore, but it is still a very popular destination. They are building homes like crazy out there, and way more coming in the future. In Wesley Chapel alone, there are 12 plus communities that are currently building houses right now. So if you're looking for new construction, out there on the east side of Pasco County is your best option. Now real quick, because I know this would come up in the comments, on the southeast side of Hillsborough County, as you get closer to Manatee County. So Parrish is technically in Manitou County, but you have other towns down there like Ruskin, like Waimama, like Apollo Beach, where there is quite a bit of active building going on. But then as you go into Manatee County and go into Parrish, there's tons of neighborhoods popping up, big master plan communities that are imitating places like Epperson or like Lakewood Ranch down in Sarasota. One thing I really love about the Parrish area is it's kind of equidistant from Tampa and St. Petersburg. So if you really want to get close to the beaches and you really want to still use downtown Tampa for things, you have those options. But also St. Petersburg might just become the downtown that you gravitate toward. And in the midst of this, one of the questions we get asked all the time is, are prices going up or down? That depends on a lot of factors, obviously. Interest rates are kind of a factor whenever you have a lot of influx into a market like this, but the biggest factor is you all. When people are moving here more than they're leaving, prices stay really strong and steadily appreciate. That has been the case for the last 30 to 40 years here in the Tampa area, except for, like the crash in 2007 and 8. Okay, next question that we get asked a lot, what areas in Tampa can I avoid HOAs? Now, HOAs are very common in Florida. Part of this is just kind of the federalist mindset of the state. The state government wants the counties and the cities and the neighborhoods to govern themselves. HOAs are often that last line of governance. Now, it gets quirky in a lot of these areas because they are unincorporated parts of the county. So say you live in Palm Harbor and you live in a neighborhood. That neighborhood is likely managed by an HOA because there's no city government. It's just managed by the county. So that HOA is that kind of next level of governance. Now, there are plenty of areas where you can not have an HOA. I don't have an HOA. I live on an acre and it's a little bit more rural where I live. In the neighborhood, as you go out of the neighborhood, it's very suburban. There are areas like that. There are also areas where you just have specific restrictions, like deed restrictions, like you can't park a boat in the street or those kind of things, which I think we all kind of like those things. But when it comes to an HOA telling you like what color you can paint your house or what decorations you can put out or that your trash cans have been out too long, I would get fined for my trash cans being left out. They picked up the trash earlier. I might not get them in till the end of the day tomorrow because I have other stuff going on. I have little kids. I caught a possum last night trying to get in our chicken coop. I got to go deal with that later. So I understand not wanting an HOA. I really do. One of the questions we get asked in the midst of this is, can I find new construction with no HOA? Not really. So there are a few exceptions to that. If we find a builder that has built something on a vacant lot, then it might not have an HOA. That's going to be about 2 to 5% of the new construction homes in our market. So It's not gonna be very common, and then you're not gonna get the amenities. That's really what you pay for with an HOA, is the amenities. So whether that's, a gate at your neighborhood, it's the pool, it's the courts, it's the lawn care, the landscaping, all those kind of things. And there's all different levels of that. We actually sold a house a few months ago in a neighborhood called Esplanade. In this neighborhood, they actually do all of your lawn care for you. So you live in single family homes. The house we sold was a 4-bedroom house with a pool, nice preserve view in the back. And his HOA fees were around $350 a month. This included an amazing amenity center with courts and Olympic pool and lazy river and all kinds of really cool stuff at the amenity center. And they did all the lawn care all around the house. Kind of cool. We also run into a lot of questions about condo associations, which is, the HOA version for condos. Condo associations can be pretty expensive. I've seen them up to $1,200 a month. Often when they're more expensive, let's say it's $600 a month, it's going to include some things like water and sewer and internet and cable. So if you take that out of it, things you'd be paying for anyway, you can kind of recalculate what you're actually paying for. And then you're making the judgment call for yourself. Does this community solve the problem we want? Does it have the amenities we want to be worth this price? Continuing with the HOA conversation, where can you find areas that have no HOA? They're gonna be hit or miss. Mostly they're gonna be older homes. So think things that are built older than 86. The house I'm in right now is 86. Our previous house was built in 62, also no HOA. So you're gonna have to be in an older home if you want to avoid an HOA, unless you're on just a new build kind of in the middle of older homes. But just think about this as you're comparing a few different areas. There are quite a few options. Now that's the most common way to avoid HOAs, is to go with older or more rural, but there are exceptions to this, of course. We've sold houses that are newer, pretty close to the Gulf, have no HOA, have no flood zone. So it's not like one size fits all with these kind of things. Okay, next question we get all the time is, should I go with new construction or pre-existing? If you want new, if you want that feel, if you want that kind of manicured feel as you enter your neighborhood and have this big fountain at the entrance, like those kind of things you're gonna get with new construction, you're not gonna get them anywhere else. So it really depends the feel you want, but also depends the proximity you want to certain things. A lot of new construction is going to be a bit further out. Now, maybe you're moving from, Virginia and you have to commute to DC every day. This is not gonna feel like that. Traffic's not gonna be the same. The kind of intensity of the commute's not gonna feel the same. So it's not as intense, but new construction is just going to be a bit further out of the cities and a bit further away from the beaches. Typically when our clients are choosing new construction, they want the new feel. They want to have lower fixed costs. Like they don't want to, update anything. They don't want to do anything like that. They want some kind of amenities. Sometimes they want the nicest amenities possible, and they often really want to customize their house a little bit, even if it just means choosing some finishes. Sometimes they're gonna go far, they're gonna build in the outdoor kitchen, they're gonna add on the mother-in-law suite, and they're gonna put in the brand new pool with the screen, all when they build it. A lot of our clients that are choosing that option, they're choosing it for those kind of reasons. One of the things to keep in mind with new construction is the timelines are kind of unknown. Now, it's not like the pandemic where they just ran out of supplies, or there's a virus where they can't work. It's a little different than that, but let me give you an example. We have a couple new builds going right now with Taylor Morrison. They say it'll be done in 12 to 14 months. Well, at the 6-month mark, they were already putting drywall in. Usually when they're putting drywall in, it takes about 90 days to finish. So we know it's gonna be done earlier, but we call and ask, and it should be done now, and their answer is it'll be 12 to 14 months. That can affect your payment quite a bit because you don't lock in your interest rate when you sign the contract for the house. You solidify your loan further in the process. So rates could change, your job situation could change. A lot of things could change that affect your ability to buy that house or the affordability of that house for you. So that's one thing to keep in mind. There are options that shorten the timeline a lot, whether that's buying from specific builders that build ahead of time and let you customize small things, or just buying an inventory home that's already finished. You can just buy it and move in right away. And typically those inventory homes have the best incentives because they have to sell them in a certain time. And keep in mind, these builders are big companies. They're often publicly traded big companies that need to finish their year end, close deals out, and things like that. So there's ways we can take advantage of that for sure. All right, next question I get asked about all the time is homeowners insurance. Sometimes people will even call me and say, hey, can you even get homeowners insurance? Sometimes you can't, which is kind of funny. In general, you can. It's fine. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. When there's a hurricane coming, say a hurricane's like, they've said it's gonna make landfall in 3 days, you can't get insurance. They call it binding. You can't bind insurance whenever there's a hurricane inbound because they don't wanna initiate new coverage. It's just kind of a thing that happens. So with these 2 storms that just happened, Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, there was like 10 days where insurance companies wouldn't bind around all those storms, and that caused deals to really get slowed down. But overall, homeowners insurance is readily available. People buy and sell real estate all the time. People have insurance claims all the time. Yeah, some companies have left the state, but it's a very specific reason why some of these companies have left the state. There was this law that came into effect in Florida a few years ago that made a big impact on insurance companies. What it did was it allowed a consumer to sue an insurance company, but it made the insurance company pay for the lawyers on both sides. So even if the consumer was wrong, even if it was a false claim or like the insurance couldn't cover it, the insurance company still had to pay for the litigation costs on both sides. This caused insurance companies' expenses to just go through the roof. Mostly because of all this litigation, companies started leaving the state because they couldn't make enough money. Now, if I had an insurance company, I don't know if I would be in Florida with rules like that. But some companies are coming back in, some new companies are coming in, and hopefully it will get a bit more stable. There has to be a way for the state to protect these companies from this kind of litigation, from these kind of exorbitant expenses regarding litigation. Now, I want to protect the consumer more than I want to protect these companies, but we need to keep these companies in the state to keep prices competitive. Otherwise, if you only have one option, you only have one price. Insurance can be crazy expensive. I actually own 2 homes right now. One I've been trying to sell and just flooded again during Hurricane Helene. That's a $400,000 house and the insurance on that home is $9,000 a year. That's homeowners insurance and flood insurance. Now, the flood insurance doubled before Hurricane Idalia and then it flooded during Hurricane Idalia. It hasn't gone up since then. That's been 2 renewals since then and it hasn't gone up. I think they probably projected some of these storms coming and they raised it before. And then the house that we currently live in is a lot further inland. Technically, it's only 4 miles away from the Gulf, but it's newer construction. The roof is attached with hurricane clips. There's a couple of those things that really do help your insurance premium. The insurance on that house is currently provided by Citizens, which was created by the state as kind of the last resort. If you can't get covered by other companies, then Citizens will cover you. Citizens goes through these things, they call it depopulation. Insurance companies do this all the time. It's just kind of an unfortunate name, Citizens Depopulation. But what happens is they drop your coverage if you're able to find a carrier that is no more than 20% more. So my premium on this house is $2,000 a year. There was another one available for $2,700, so Citizens dropped me and made me buy the other one. I didn't really have a choice. Now that's still pretty affordable for Florida insurance. Our average prices on insurance are really, $2,000 up to $8,000 a year for homeowners. Now, if you live in a flood zone, you're going to be paying something on top of that. Flood insurance has its own quirks, and if you're part of the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, those policies are backed by FEMA. So whenever there is a FEMA hurricane, like Hurricane Helene or Milton this year, that whole process is different. You file a claim with your carrier, but the carrier is backed by FEMA, and so it's just like this whole kind of different cycle. I've actually done it twice now. I'm in the middle of it for the 2nd time. One thing that's in the background of these insurance companies that people don't realize, and I mostly know about because my dad just retired from selling insurance for 30 some years, insurance companies have reinsurance. Their reinsurance is pretty much insurance for their massive payouts. It's insurance so they can bail themselves out and not go broke. So Citizens has a reinsurance account that runs out of money every time there's a big storm. So that's the problem, is it loses money and has to borrow money from other sources to pay these claims out every single year. That's the problem with Citizens right now, is yeah, it makes insurance a bit more affordable, but there's something else that has to happen to make insurance more affordable and more competitive in the Florida market. Okay, jobs. People call and ask about jobs and the economy overall, but it's something I just want to hit on briefly. Tampa overall has very high employment. It's like over 97% employment. There's all kinds of industry here, but there's still not like a big industry. Tourism, of course, is a big draw. We have beaches, we have amusement parks. I like to break that up into natural and man-made. So the beaches would be the more natural stuff, and just the water in general is a very natural thing. When it comes to man-made things, we have amusement parks, we have museums, we have downtown kind of stuff, we have all those kind of things. On top of that, we have spring baseball for a lot of teams. We have our own local baseball team. We have football, we have hockey, we have events and concerts and all kinds of things like that that people are drawn to. Outside of the tourism income, the biggest industries are really medicine, education, and infrastructure. So for medicine, people assume Florida's aging population has all this medical stuff available to them, and there is quite a bit. We have some big medical systems. Tampa General Hospital, Advent, Baycare, all of these kind of different systems of hospitals throughout the whole Tampa area that have all different kinds of facilities, all different kinds of clinics, all different kinds of urgent cares and emergency centers and other things like that. On top of that, we have some major research facilities like the Moffitt Cancer Center where you can come for cancer treatment. We have clients that call and ask just about that. Moffitt is also opening a new research facility up in Land O'Lakes, just on the south side of the new Angeline community. Super interesting things happening with that. But again, that research facility doesn't actually provide that many jobs. That's something to think about. These very high-skilled industries often don't provide that many jobs. When it comes to education, there are colleges and universities. We have USF, we have Eckerd College, a lot of local community colleges and local universities as well. And those do employ quite a lot of people. When it comes to infrastructure jobs, what I'm talking about is Publix being one of the biggest employers, a grocery chain. Other big employers are like the counties that employ sheriffs. We have a lot of deputies because a lot of these areas are unincorporated, meaning you need a lot of deputies to police the area instead of having big police departments. One other industry that we have here that people don't often realize is government contractors. So we do have, the base, the MacDill base, Air Force Base in South Tampa, which is the headquarters for, CENTCOM and some other big military things, but that also doesn't employ a whole lot of people. It's mostly officers that work there. But what it does do is it creates this demand around for government contractors. I actually have a client that works for a government contractor. That project manages other government contractors. It's his own thing. But we have Lockheed and Stryker and all these kind of companies here that are building machines and infrastructure for the military. On top of all this, we have one of the busiest ports in the country. The port in the middle of Tampa. They come up under the Skyway Bridge, they go up into downtown Tampa. This port is very busy and provides a lot of infrastructure for the whole state. Okay, next question we get asked all the time is where are the walkable areas? Now there's two different levels of walkable. One, being able to walk out your door and walk to something. Next is being able to drive somewhere nearby and park and then walk around for a long time. We have the second level of that in a lot of areas. We don't have the first area of that in very many areas. When you live in the smaller towns in Pinellas County, you're more likely to have a little bit of that where you can walk somewhere from your house. But as you get out into the suburbs and as you get into even the suburban areas that are in the Tampa area, like West Chase, you don't have that much walkability. Now you might end up living really close to that one, shopping area that's connected to your neighborhood and therefore you can walk to it. But imagine if you lived just a mile further into the neighborhood, it'd be a little bit harder. I also have 3 little kids, so walking a mile to just go somewhere is not often that ideal. I end up carrying kids the whole way back and like bikes and strollers and things like that. So let's highlight a couple really walkable areas. Number one being downtown Tampa. So the Riverwalk goes north and south along the river. And there's all kinds of stuff built around the Riverwalk. Downtown Tampa is actually pretty small, but the Riverwalk goes up into Tampa Heights up there by Armature Works, and they're looking to expand it in the next few years. But downtown, there's all kinds of things that are built right around the Riverwalk. It's super cool. It's a few miles long. It's really fun. Got a lot of great energy. Got a lot of cool museums and restaurants and bars and nightlife and fun stuff. Next walkable area would be St. Petersburg. Downtown has all kinds of things you can do. Also a really easy place to park and walk around. But within St. Petersburg, you have trails that go all around. You have the Pinellas Trail you can connect to really easily. You have trails up and down the bay, like sidewalks that you can, ride on, roller skate on, whatever. You also have the Sunrunner bus that goes from downtown St. Petersburg over to St. Pete Beach, just continually. It's super easy, like one stretch. If you want to just go to the beach, you don't want to take your car. Also, finding parking in that spot where the bus drops you off is pretty horrendous. And then they don't want you to park across the street at Publix, but everybody ends up doing that and just like seeing what happens. But That Sunrunner bus is pretty cool. Okay, next walkable areas I'm gonna kind of lump together as like the beach towns where you can drive a golf cart. So even a town like Dunedin, 36,000 people, has a golf cart zone. You can see the map right here. Very specific areas where you can drive golf carts. Very specific areas they want you to cross the road. Those kind of things. And we have clients that narrow in on that. I want to live in Dunedin with a pool in the golf cart zone. Super fun to find that, and we found a lot of those. Overall, the smaller the town, the more walkable it is. So when we lived in Tarpon Springs, which is about 25,000 people, we could walk from our house to the water, we could walk to the beach, we could walk to Walgreens, we could walk to a farmer's market, we could walk to the liquor store, we could walk to Ace Hardware, and we did all those things pretty often. But overall, the whole area overall is not very walkable and is very car dependent. There are a few toll roads, one going north and south of Veterans Expressway. It really goes from the airport area up to far north into the state. It's actually going to go all the way to the top of the state eventually and be one of the main evacuation routes during hurricanes. But there's also a toll road going across the bay from St. Petersburg to Tampa, and then that one can continue over to the Brandon area. Those are helpful and fast, but we do have this issue in the Tampa area, and it's the Tampa Bay. It's kind of in the way. And then as you go further north, you have Lake Tarpon in the way. We have these big bodies of water that are in the way. You have to kind of get around at times, and that contributes to the car dependency in the area. When it comes to bus systems and things like that, they're just not built out for people to use them on a daily basis. Now, there are people that do use them on a daily basis. It's not the kind of metro transportation system that you see in bigger cities like New York, DC, places like that. Okay, one of the other questions we get asked all the time is, where are the best schools? Or where are the bad schools? First of all, as a real estate professional, I can't answer that super directly. We have a code of ethics that we agree to, where I genuinely just can't answer those kind of questions in a very transparent way. There are sites online, obviously like niche.com or greatschools.org, where people do rate schools. And those are often like you guys or locals that are rating those schools and writing reviews. But I often have this conversation with clients that the best school for you is the best school for you. That doesn't mean it's the highest rated school. We actually homeschool our kids right now, and the school district we live in is not very highly rated. So it's not even really something that crosses my mind for my family. But what I like to do is dig into actually what you're looking for in a school, whether it's public or private, if it's certain kind of programs, and then how that relates to the lifestyle you want and the feel you want in your neighborhood. We can solve that puzzle pretty easily. There are a lot of great options for every situation. And there's a lot of public schools with great programs like the International Baccalaureate program or the pre-med kind of programs. There's a lot of great public options like that. And something to point out why I believe public schools get better in certain areas is because of pressure. Families move in and they put pressure on the system to train their kids in a specific way. That's what makes these schools better. And some of these areas that are growing really fast, the schools are also going to get better and better over the next decade. Some of the counties like Pasco County are really working hard to move up their timelines for building some of these schools. In a lot of the places they're doing K through 8 and then they're doing high school kind of separately. I kind of like it like that. And even in Starkey Ranch, a neighborhood in Odessa, the K through 8 school is right there in the neighborhood. Kind of cool. If my kids were going to public school, a K through 8 would be really cool because they would be at the same school for a bit longer. When it comes to universities, there's a lot of options as well. Obviously USF being the big state school here in Tampa. There's also a private school downtown, Tampa University, which is right there at the old Tampa Bay Hotel, the original resort to the area that Henry B. Plant built. Super cool. There's a museum in that building as well. Super cool minarets there right on the river. Honestly, beautiful, beautiful campus. There's plenty of other local schools and universities, community colleges like I mentioned before. There's trade schools. Eckerd College is a really common law school that people go to down here. Kaiser University is a really common advanced RN school that people go to down here. There are a lot of options like that. Okay, and finally, let's talk about weather. It is the Sunshine State. St. Petersburg still holds the title for the most consecutive days of sunshine. All my friends back in Colorado, they like to say that they have that title, but they don't. Weather down here though is like you expect. Super hot, and then super stormy, and then really, really pleasant for the whole winter. We're in this moment right now though, it's November 1st right now. We're in this moment where you kind of get, it's really hot for so long in the summer and then it starts to cool off. then it gets hot again for a little while. It's like this false fall right before Halloween, and then it just gets hot for a few more weeks and then starts to cool off, actually. But let's talk about summer real quick. Summer is hot and humid and rainy and buggy. It's kind of brutal. Like I take multiple shirts when I go to meet with clients because I might just sweat through one. If we end up sitting outside or standing outside for a while outside of a house, or you go into a house to show it and it's like the air conditioning's not working, you go kind of from air conditioning to air conditioning during the summer. One thing I noticed with little kids is the parks are super empty during the summer because parents just don't want to be out there in the heat, and the kids don't really want to be out there either. And there's a lot of reasons why someone might want a swimming pool at their house, but I think this is probably the biggest one. And this is where it comes in handy for my family. We have a swimming pool in the backyard that's screened in, and during the summer, it's such a reprieve. With the screen, you're protected from the bugs, you're protected from really kind of sunburns. The screen reduces the UV by about 40%. At least that's what somebody told me, and I've just been saying it like I know it, but it reduces it somewhat. In summer, the average temperature is in the low 90s. It doesn't really get up to like 100 very often, but the humidity on top of that is just pretty brutal. It's kind of this island humidity that's just different. I was actually training for a half marathon during the summer, and I would just have to get up so early to not just be soaking wet after I ran. Okay, fall and winter are pretty dreamy. Fall doesn't really start until November 1st. Yeah, I get it, it starts earlier, but it doesn't really cool off until about November 1st. Really, November through April are very, very pleasant months. I end up wearing shorts most of the time. I might throw on some long sleeves. Typically, I still wear sandals. I did live in Colorado for a decade, so the cold doesn't bother me too much. You will see locals, including my father-in-law, put on a pretty big coat when it gets down to 60. It's pretty funny. People really bundle up down here. Okay, lastly, let's talk about hurricanes. This has obviously been a big topic this year. Florida's been hit really hard the past 5 years, just kind of again and again. Whenever we moved here, it was like, nah, hurricanes don't ever hit us. We've never had a direct impact. Honestly, we still haven't had a direct impact in like 100 years. What happens though, is because of the way we're positioned, we can have flooding pretty easily. Now this is just dependent on how the storm builds and develops, and whenever there's a hurricane coming, all the locals turn into like meteorologists. And we all just go follow Mike's weather page, who's this local guy, lives in Oldsmar. He's a storm chaser, but he's super knowledgeable, has this big YouTube channel, you can see him right there. We all just regurgitate what he says. We're talking about the eye wall replacement, and my wife is like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, it's just something Mike said. But whenever a hurricane's coming, there's a lot you can do to prepare. Obviously, you can board up windows. We have a generator that connects to the house that we can wheel out there, and it runs quite a bit of things, just not the air conditioning. But hurricanes can be kind of scary. They really can. There's a lot of things you can do to protect yourself and make sure you stay safe during them. Typically what happens during a hurricane is you might lose power for a little while, you might lose water for a little while, you might not be able to flush toilets for a while. It depends how much it hits you, how much flooding there is, how many trees are down, things like that. During these last couple storms, people lost power for days and days, and it took a long time to get all that restored. There was also a pretty big window in St. Petersburg where they were recommending everyone boil their water before they use it. Often with hurricanes, they recommend filling up your sinks and bathtubs so that you're able to flush your toilets by just dumping water in there, because sometimes you might not be able to get new water into there from your water supply. There's all kinds of things. Hurricanes, one of the great things about them is they come for a while. So you could always evacuate, you could always board up your house, shut things off, and evacuate. You often have a week notice. I grew up in small town Oklahoma, right in the middle of Tornado Alley. And you literally have, maybe 30 minutes notice. If it's like, it's coming toward Cushing, it's coming toward Cushing, it's about to touch down in Cushing. Never mind, it didn't. And that's kind of how it was most of the time as a kid. We didn't have any direct touchdowns right in our town. We had them on the neighboring towns, but then it kind of seemed to jump over us. But with a hurricane, you have a lot more time to prepare, a lot more time to, gas up your cars, get water and get food and get on the road if you want to. Okay, I know it's a long video. If you made it to the end, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen and in the description down below. Thanks for coming by.